Today we're going to do a quick 30-minute discussion, or not discussion, I'd say, on GitHub and how to use it, kind of just basic stuff like that. Not really, I'm not going to be going too in depth or anything, but we're going to kind of just give a broad overview of what we're doing, kind of stuff like that, like what GitHub is, why you'd want to use it, who would use it, stuff like that. If you have any questions, type them in the chat. I will probably not answer them, but Renee will try to answer them, and if they're like super important, she'll bring them up, and I can talk about them live. But she'll try to answer them, and I think after we'll have a Q&A. My name is Beck Thompson. I'm the community lead here at North Seattle, at the North Seattle Computer Science Club and Google Developer Student Club. I kind of help run the Discord and stuff. So again, if you have any other questions that you didn't get to ask here, just totally log on, join the Discord, and we can answer them. And if you have any other non-GitHub related questions, we can probably answer them as well. Renee is also here, so again, you ask her, ask it in chat, and she will try to answer. So, first question is, what is GitHub? GitHub has a lot of uses, as the slide says. The first most, like, this is a really simple use, but it's a great place to back up your, keep all your code in one place and back it up. So a lot of times you're going to be, especially if you have like laptops and stuff, which most people do, we're moving around computers. So like, oh, I want to go on my laptop, or I'm on my desktop computer. And so it'd be nice to have all your code in kind of like one centralized area. So GitHub, you can upload it and it keeps it all in one centralized location, which is really nice. And obviously backup is part of that. So if you, for some reason, lose access to your computer or hard drive, you definitely you can just go to GitHub, download it again, and you're good to go. The third reason why, or another reason why you could use it is for version control. And version control is the main reason why people and companies use GitHub. It's extremely easy to have version control and be able to collaborate with people. They've got set a really good system to really help you do that. So if you ever, I'm going to go in depth about version control later, so I'll kind of skip over it. Basically, it's got version control, which is really nice for companies and for you to use it. The last, and also it helps you collaborate with other people at the same time, which is obviously, if you're in a company, obviously very important to be able to collaborate with people easily. The last reason why you might want to use GitHub is for your personal, it's basically like a personal portfolio. So if you go to someone's GitHub profile, and most companies, when you're interviewing, will probably ask for that, or you will probably just give it to them. It kind of shows employers what you've worked on, what stuff you kind of are interested in, kind of like just the coding side of you. So it shows a lot of the projects you've done and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice to show employers what you're about with GitHub. Next one. So Git versus GitHub. And I'm going to be honest, when I first learned about GitHub, I did not realize there was a Git and GitHub. So there is a difference. So GitHub is a website you can upload your Git repositories. I think that's right. And Git is just the command line tool or a non-command line tool that you have on your local computer. So you could, for example, have Git just on your computer and do all this version control stuff, but you wouldn't have the backup side of it. So you wouldn't be able to upload it to the website. So usually you don't want to just do it by yourself, and usually just connecting it to GitHub is usually the best option, because I mean, it's free and it's a lot easier to access in a lot of places. So usually you're going to want to use GitHub, but there is a difference between Git and GitHub. So like I said in the slide, think of Git more like your hard drive, and think of GitHub like Google Drive. So you can upload your repository to the cloud, and you can easily access it. Git versus GitHub, they're similar, but and once you start using it, you'll kind of see the difference. So what is version control? Think of it like an undo button, but for files. So I'm sure a lot of you guys will start, especially if you're doing Word documents or even programming stuff, Control-Z is very important. Undoing your work, extremely important part. And sometimes, at least for me, I will undo a lot of work that kind of, I probably should not just have it in the buffer in Control-Z. That's probably not a very good way to save it. So think of version control very simply just as a undo button for files, because you can upload, so you can basically upload snippets and captures of your work one at a time, and you can see you can always just roll back if you made a big mistake. So it really lets you have a lot more freedom to just do whatever you want without worrying about messing stuff up. So a sandbox, like the next thing I said, sandbox is really useful if you want to test out a feature that you're worried will somehow destroy something or not end well. Just save it and then do whatever you want, and then just undo it if you mess something up. And another reason for version control, and this is, I guess the problem is that undo stuff is so important, but another really the reason why companies use it is that you collaborate with other people. Because if you really think about it, Google and stuff could not be made by one person. Multiple people need to be working on it. No matter how many great programs you have, you need to have collaboration. Collaboration is obviously really important. So letting people work on the same project easily with version control, it's really nice. You can we'll go into a little more about this later, but basically you can let you do different branches and stuff. So you can branch off one way, another person can branch off another way, and at the end you can merge them together and it'll all hopefully work seamlessly. So that's why another really useful use for version control. Your GitHub profile. So this is the last one of the last points I talked about. Making a good profile is very important, obviously, because if you're sending it to employers, or if employers want it, being able to see it, it makes a very big impact on what they think. So my GitHub profile is pretty lame, but Renee's profile is really decked out. It's really nice. So if we're gonna go to Renee's profile right here. I think there's a link in the chat too if you want to see it yourself. But as you can see, this is Renee's. Can you see this actually? Let me just double check. Oh, again, if you can see that, then perfect. So this is Renee's profile. As you can see, she did a really good job decking it out. So you can see she's got this loading text in here that gets typed out. These are all different languages that she knows or is interested in. I'm pretty sure it's both. And then it's got some more stuff about Renee, some different her last things she listened to on her playlist, some different links to other social media. And if you go down here, this is another that stuff is all stuff Renee added and made really nice. But this is the stuff that you can also see. So if you go to I think it's actually up here. That's a snippet. But if you go to the repositories, these are all the projects Renee has worked on or has made herself. I think it's only the stuff she made herself. So basically, if you go into this, I think it's right here, you can see all the different stuff she's worked on and uploaded to their GitHub. So if you go here, this right here is our club website that we're working on. So as you can see, Renee's worked on it. I think Renee actually even made this repo too. But she basically works on that. You can work on this. You can show employers like, oh, I worked on this project. Here's the history. If you go back to here too, actually, I think it's. If you go back to here, these green dots are just saying how many contributions Renee has made to different projects. So more green is better. So if you see someone with a lot of green, you know they're pretty active. Mine is pretty gray, but I think Renee's obviously you can see a lot of green. So that's another important part. But basically, this is obviously a really nice profile. And I think next week, I'll talk about this a little bit later at the end. Next week, we're going to try to do a 30-minute session on how to make these profiles too. So if you're interested in that, keep on checking the Bevy website and we'll update it. So let's go back. I think this is the right slide. So that's your GitHub profile. Okay. So now we're going to make an account, and definitely feel free to make an account with us. I'm not sure how much experience most people have who are here, but we're going to go through this process of making an account. It's pretty simple. And then after that, we're going to go through how to make a repository and do branching. It's not super in depth, but it'll kind of give you a quick snippet on what you could do. It's kind of showing you what it's about. So if we go to github.com to sign up, I'm pretty sure if I just do this. So it's got this nifty little terminal. Enter email. So I'm praying that this email will work because I've already made an account twice at this point. So hopefully it does not say you made too many accounts. Does it have a password for me? Okay. It is told not to do that, but I will just type in the previous password. Get a password, enter a username. That is definitely not the username I want. I'll just do quick brown box 111234 whatever. Unsurprising. So would you like updates? I usually say yes with these things, but it can get spammy. So I mean, obviously do what you want. Let's do this quick puzzle. Click the spiral galaxy. Create the account. And let me quickly get that email. Let's see. If you ever have any trouble creating an account, just tell us, and we can. Well, Renee can try to help you in the chat now, but we also can just help you afterwards as well.
Also, we can take a second. I'd like to get a good feel on, I know some of us have.
I'm sorry, I'm breathing the mic again.
That's okay. Some of us have profiles, I saw, but there's a few people who don't have them. So I just wanted to make sure that we're all caught up and signing up
Yeah.
if we want to.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about my mic. The Google Bevy does not have any good settings to like kind of see like what level of noise, and I can't have it default on the operating system. So I'll try to breathe quieter, but I know that's annoying. I hate that.
That's good feedback, though. Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Yeah, definitely. If there's something bad, definitely just say it in the chat. We'll try to
Okay,
fix
well,
that.
I'm going to assume with all that silence that we're good to go. So all you
Okay,
guys.
good. I will continue. So right now it is just going to be me, obviously, and I'm a student. So continue. What things am I interested in? I'm probably interested in collaborative coding. I'll probably be interested in community stuff and sure security as well. I think this is essentially stuff emails. Okay, so there's two different accounts you can have. You can have either the pro account or the free one. Free is totally enough to do basic stuff. If you're just doing like your normal programming personal projects, this should easily be enough. The free account will be totally good enough. But if you do want a pro account, I don't think it costs too much money. And also, if you're a student, I'm pretty sure it is free. So you can get a lot of the pro benefits for free if you're a student. I think you have to get like your student email or something. I don't think it's too hard. But definitely do that if you're a student and want to do that. I'm not going to do that because that's too complicated for right now. But definitely know that's an option. So we are in. We are now in the GitHub profile. This is the kind of main page. Usually you're going to be working in a repository, so you're not going to kind of see this stuff. But now what we're going to do is just going to go through how to make a simple repository. Think of this like, again, repositories is like your project. So we're going to create a repository. Our name will be first repo. I'd never recommend doing spaces because it can get bad if you're actually downloading the document, but it's fine for now. Description. Public. I obviously make it public if you want to show off the project, but if you're doing something that you're worried about, maybe accidentally doing leaking files or something that are important, just do it private. But we'll just keep it public. So the README file is obviously really important. This kind of when people go to your GitHub repository, this will be the thing that kind of shows up at the bottom to see what like, oh, this was about kind of the welcome page. Kind of think of it as like that. So definitely make a README file. The Git Ignore file can be useful depending on what you're doing. I don't know what these different ones mean. Obviously, depending on what programming language, they're a little bit different. But the Git Ignore profile file is pretty much just it excludes files from being uploaded. So if you say, I'm going to upload all these files, it will say, if you add a file in the Git Ignore, it will say, I don't want to use this file. So if you have some private information like private Bitcoin keys or something, your private key, or like passwords or something, definitely add those, put those in a separate file and add them to the Git Ignore so it does not get uploaded, because you can easily upload personal files or passwords, and that is not good. License, definitely read through the licenses and pick one that is suitable. So if it's like an open source thing or a more closed down thing, choose the right one. I do not know what they are, so I cannot give any recommendations. Okay, the repository is done. So right now, obviously, you're going to usually have more code in this and not just the files. But for now, this is fine. This is just going to be, this is what your repository will look like when you first make it. As you can see, you got the Git Ignore file. It says my internet is unstable. So if something goes wrong, just tell me, Renee.
You're doing.
So the license is just that stuff. It is the README file. So the README file, it displays it, like I said, right here. So this is what the README file is, pretty simple right now, is. Again, this is just the normal stuff. If you want to download it, and I'm sure if you've done any video game mods and stuff, they're usually hosted on GitHub. But if you click on this code button, if you download this zip file, this would just give you all the files there. You also can do it through the command line with this, and there's some crazy other stuff that I don't know about. But the main thing we're going to learn about, this is basically the versioning, one of the collaborative things, and for version control, is making new branches. So I'm going to say, what is a branch? I will make one real quick and I'll explain. So we're going to do second branch, and usually you want to name these something better, like this is going to add the new homepage for the website, or I'm going to add a new whatever thing. So I'm going to make this, I think I just say create a new branch. So we just created another branch. What's that? think of it like a branch, kind of like a branch on a tree, but I think railroads is a better example. So basically think of the main branch. This is what you're going to work on, and this is something that's totally this should be stable, shouldn't have any problems with this. And the branches will be stuff you're working on that's a little more experimental. So these right now you can see are the same, but if we were to change something in the second branch, and usually you can upload the file, but I'm just going to do this. So
this down really quick. Alila wanted to know, what am I supposed to do for the initialize repository step?
Initialize repository step. I'm pretty sure if you want to make a new repository, if you just made your GitHub account, if you go to your profile, and again, I think if you just go to repositories, you can say, click this button right here to make a new repository, and it will just open up the page and just type in the name and stuff of the project. And if you want to upload the files, I think you can do it here, but you also can just make a new branch and then just copy and paste all the files in. Is that the question you're asking?
There are a couple different ways to initialize a repository, and what we're doing here is just through the GUI. So we're going to go in and you're going to follow that link that he had with the new repository. Then you create the repository name. Are you on this page, Leela? Which of those three boxes at the bottom do I click?
Okay, for these ones, so that's the extent. I'll explain again. That is kind of important, or at least a little important. I would definitely, you don't have to click any of these boxes. You don't need them. But the README file is important if this is not just for you and you want to have a little bit about your project. This README file, if you click this button, it will add. Let me just go back. It will add this file right here. It will add this README file, and this README file is just I think it's a like a markup thing. I don't really know exactly, but basically just kind of think of it as a text document for really simple, and you can kind of give more info about your project. So so for example, if we were to change this, we could just say this is test repository, and you can also just add more about it. I don't really know what to talk about because this is just a test one, but add more information about your project. This Git Ignore file, if you're not doing anything sensitive, like if you're not doing anything that has passwords or private keys, just totally ignore this. You don't need to Git Ignore. You can add it and just, if you don't need it, then who cares? But I would just uncheck it. If you're not going to do anything with private information, which you usually aren't, just ignore that. And the license, let's be honest, at least for me, no one's going to want to steal anything I want or use it at all. So you can just click one of these at random. But I think the Apache is pretty good. I think MIT is also pretty normal. Renee, which one is pretty generic?
MIT is really common.
Yeah.
There's also several different open source licenses in there. And you can Google those and check those out. If you want to learn more about them, maybe we can have a future session on it.
Yeah, but it is not. Yeah, these are not super important. You can add all these later if you want. So don't worry about too much about these. But I think the MIT one, like you said, is pretty common. And so does that answer your question pretty well?
MIT is one of the most permissive one, meaning you can pretty much do anything with that code. Just make sure, like, GPL is one that you have to watch for because GPL has some restrictions. GPL is actually called a copyleft license. But besides that, Apache or MIT are very permissive, so you can pretty much pick any of those.
Okay, so I was saying, so if you don't want people to take your code, which probably no one will, don't do the MIT or Apache. Is that what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that's what you meant by take it. But yeah, the licenses aren't super important unless it's like a commercial thing. Look them up, and there's gonna be, I'm sure, a million videos about explaining the different ways between them. But basically, those aren't super important. It's nice to click them, but you can always add them later. So I'm just gonna go back a step so we can remember where we were. So right now, if you remember, we have the two branches. We've got the main branch, which is the same one as normal. And you have the second branch, which we just created. And usually you want to have a better name, but it's fine. So if you click this edit button, usually do not edit the files like this. Just do them on your own computer and upload them later. We can just say added new line. And let's just remove this. So I save this, and this is going to just merge it automatically, but who cares? So as you can see, now in the second branch, we've changed this README file. We've subtracted the first line, the description, and we've added this new line. If you go back to main, doesn't have those changes. It kept the old ones, so this new version is completely separate and safe from the main version. So your main one is still going to be totally working. But usually after you've done these changes, you want to bring it back to the main because it will start working. Because this works and you want to merge it back. So what you're going to do is you're going to make something called a pull request. Let's do this. A pull request, think it's a kind of a weird name, but a pull request is pulling the code from the second branch and pushing it to the first branch or to the main branch or whatever other branch you want. So for example, we are going to, the base branch is main, and we are going to merge the second branch into main. So we're going to pull all the stuff from the second branch and push it onto the main one. So we'll kind of merge together and go back into one single file. So if you see here, it tells you what stuff you've added. So it says you've added these 3 lines and you just got rid of this line. So that's all the change we've made. Usually it'll be a lot more changes, but obviously for this example, it's pretty small. So we're going to make a pull request. We're going to say create pull request. So we're going to leave a comment like, I don't know, added to the README. So usually you want to make these really descriptive because it's important if you're going back or if someone else is looking at it to make them descriptive and obviously help people know what you're talking about, because usually it's kind of hard to just read the code. So make these very descriptive when you're doing it yourself, but for this purpose, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to make a pull request. And so now we've made the pull request. So right now we've made it, but if you go back to the code, go to main, it's the same. And the second branch is still the same. So nothing's happened. Why is that? It's because we haven't actually merged them yet. So when you make the request, usually if you're in a business, you have to go through some steps. Like other people will review your code, or you will have to do different iterations and stuff. So basically, it doesn't. When you make that pull request, it doesn't actually do it automatically. It kind of goes through a process. But since it's just us, we know what we've done. We can just say we're going to merge the pull request. So we're going to merge it into the main, and we're going to confirm it. And
I remember asking you this before, and I'm going to ask you again. If I'm just working on a project by myself, are pull requests really like necessary?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a really good question, because I mean, think about like, you can just say to yourself like, I already know all this stuff. I already know what's going on. However, making these pull requests and doing all these extra steps, which isn't super a lot of work, it makes it a lot easier to go back. So GitHub is really good with going back and doing different versions. And so when you do it, all these different steps like this, which isn't like super hard, it kind of makes sense. It's a lot easier to go back and review stuff or undo mistakes that you've made. That's the reason you want to do these steps instead of just copy and pasting without doing any stuff. Because you can just do this all. You can kind of skip all these steps if you wanted to, but at that point you might as well just use your own computer or just use GitHub as a more of a backup thing. But if you go here, see we now made the merge. So if you go here, now we're in main, and it removed that line and added this line. So it is merged. It's done. And if you go here, as you can see, he got rid of the other branch. So you might or might not want to do that. So depending on what, see if I go to closed, depending on what you're doing, you might actually want to have this branch still here. So if you go back, now we've got main. Oops, did I not do it? Let me see. I think I restored it. Oh, okay, I did. I just didn't get it, or I missed it. Okay, so then now the second branch, as you can see, second branch and main are now the same. So they're the same, but usually you don't want these other branches clogging up your stuff. So I usually would just delete it, but you don't have to depending on what you want. So we're going to just delete it. Or we actually don't want to revert that and delete the branch. So this should say, yep, so this is first line, so it's got the added line, and we remove the other one. So that's the basic way to do merges. So just think of it as you have the main branch that everything is working. You make a new branch to say, I'm going to work on this extra different aspect, and then you work on that. And after you're done working on it, you merge it back into the main branch, or you make a pull request, and then it gets merged back into main branch, and it's all straightforward and still going good. That's how you should think about it. Kind of think of it like a railroad. So you kind of go off course and then go back in. That's how I usually think about it. So I think that actually is all the stuff we're going to cover. But what you might want to do next, because obviously there's a lot more to learn. My recommendation would be to learn about how to use the commands in the command line, because a lot of the stuff you can do on the on this interface on this website. But if you get really good at doing the command line, it'll be a lot faster and simpler to just do it all from there, and it's all in one spot. So if you get really good at that and using Git commands, it'll be a lot easier to do all these steps. So that's what I would recommend doing next. So I'm pretty sure that's actually the end of our presentation. So if anyone has any questions, just ask. Let's see. I keep saying my internet is unstable. Have I been breaking up?
I hear you just fine. I like how this kind of gives you this high overview without getting into what one does on the command line just yet. I think that if everyone's interested in learning about how you get it to go from your local machine to the remote repository, let us know. This is all about kind of what would benefit you all. So, making sure that our content matches the needs of the community is really important.
Yeah, like if anyone has anything they're interested in or want us to talk about, totally just have a good idea that you already know a lot about, totally just tell us and we will try to figure something out, because if anyone ever wants something, probably means other people do too.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. Well, it seems like everybody feels solid. I say it so tentatively. Hardy, you've been working with GitHub for a while, I presume, because you have a lot of code. Yeah. Oh, did we just lose Hardy? Oh yeah, he was in this car, I think. But I do know that there's several people in the club who've worked with GitHub extensively, so we're always around. Just ask us if you have any questions about how to set stuff up.
I'm just gonna answer. Someone did ask a question. JSON keys, I don't quite know what that means, but if it's something you don't want, wouldn't want someone else to access, like if you have a SSH file that you want us to keep private to connect to a server, definitely keep that in the Git Ignore. To be honest, since this is all your own stuff, if you have any doubt, like maybe someone could use this, put it in the Git Ignore, and it won't be picked up. So just if you have any doubt, put it in the Git Ignore, it'll be fine. You can always just remove it later,
So you could put that JSON file, not a specific key, but a JSON file specifically. So maybe make it its own separate. You would put that in your Git Ignore. Anything with any kind of, and there are other practices too to secure passcodes or stuff of that nature, keys. But yeah, definitely keep that stuff off GitHub, and especially API keys.
API keys are no good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw a video. They made a bot that would look through all the different Bitcoin like repositories, and like they got a couple private keys from people and got or they could have accessed their Bitcoin. So be very careful when you're doing that. But usually most projects don't require super secretive stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we've got 1 minute left, and we really like to respect everybody's time. So, Travis, I'm going to go visit it. I'm going to follow Travis. Yes, I'm your first follower.
Yay. Yeah, see, that's exactly, there's the repository. It looks good. Yeah, those, and again, totally go, and I do a lot more research on yourself if you actually want to do this some more, because that's the basic stuff. That should actually get you pretty far. But if you're going to do something more serious, definitely learn about the command line or get some more info on it.